Members of the public and members of this committee. This meeting is for the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. Is now called to order. Mr. Mejia, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lee.
Present.
Ms. Hutt. Absent. Ms. Jaroslavsky. Here. Ms. Padilla.
Nada.
Present.
And Mr. De Leon absent. That's 3 members in the quorum, sir.
All right, we'll start this meeting by taking public comment on agenda items. Our goal is to get as many speakers as possible. We will then move through the agenda one item at a time, listen to staff presentations, and vote on the items accordingly. If you are an applicant or an appellant, please wait for your item to be called up before you speak. There's no way to identify differences between you and speakers on other items. So if you hear your name called, you can just wait for your item number to be called. All right, City Clerk, please read the rules of public comment into the record.
Yes, sir. Appellants and/or their representatives and applicants and/or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side unless otherwise noted by the chair. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Appellants and applicants will be given an opportunity to speak when their item is called. Each appellant and applicant has a total of 3 minutes to speak. An appellant can choose to have a single representative speak on his or her behalf or divide the 3 minutes among his or her team. Anyone else, including an attorney or project manager wishing to speak on an appellant's behalf who does not do so during this 3-minute period, may offer a minute of public comment whenever the committee chairperson opens the public comment period for the meeting, which is usually at the beginning of the meeting. Therefore, we expect that appellants and applicants have their respective teams assembled and ready to present at the appropriate times today. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. Failure to submit a public comment in a timely manner before the comment period for the time ends results in forfeiture of the opportunity to participate in public comment for the item. Mr. Chair, if I may, for the record, the financial disclosure statement for item number 14 has been submitted and uploaded to council file number 24-1200-S60. Madam City Attorney, please provide additional guidance on public comment.
When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you are not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell whether you are speaking on an agenda item, you will get one brief warning. If you do not immediately get clearly on topic, you will forfeit the rest of your time and we will move on to the next speaker. We will inform you when your time is up.
All right, before we turn to public comment, I'd like to open the floor for any additional recommendations from council members or that staff may have. Now is the time to read those additional recommendations into the record on any of the items today.
Mr. Lee, for item number 2, the zone change in CD6, additional conditions have been added, and I can read those into the record.
Are you ready?
I'm sorry?
Councilmember Padilla?
Yes.
I think I was asked to read the conditions, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
So for item number 2, for the zone change in CD6, the additional condition relates to landscape buffer, gate and sound walls, and landscape plan. As to landscape buffer, this is the additional language. Artificial turf and related materials along Sepulveda Boulevard will be removed and replaced with decorative elements and natural sustainable landscaping, which may include planters, native plants, permeable materials, or other hardscape design. All landscaping must meet the requirements of Streets LA right-of-way landscaping guidelines. As to gate and sound wall, improve gate and sound wall facing Halbrand Street for privacy and noise. The gate and wall will include non-transparent screening incorporating decorative elements to extend across the entire fence. Decorative elements may include ornamental metal, climbing plants, or lattice work. Gate and wall must be non-transparent and provide no visibility into the lot from Halbrand Street. landscape plan. New landscape plans and elevations must be submitted to the Department of City Planning for review and approval within 45 days of council action. The new landscape plan and elevation should include the new elements to the landscape buffer, gate and sound wall, and vacuum hose stations canopies. The planning department will include updated plans in the case file. That concludes the additional language, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Colleagues, I'd like to continue items item 1 to December 3rd, 2024, item 4 to December 3rd, 2024, and item 8 to November 19th, 2024. Without objection?
And I will call the roll on those continuing, sir. Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Hutt, absent. Ms. Yaroslavsky,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Padilla,
Yes.
thank you. And Mr. De Leon, absent. That's 3 ayes, and those items are continued, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mejia. Before we start with public comment, we have a commission appointment here today. I'd just like to hear, we're not going to vote on the item today, but if we can have the commissioner for Mr. Welliver, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Here, why don't you have a seat? First, am I pronouncing the name right?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Welliver, if you want to, do you have an opening statement, or would you like?
Sure, I can share a little bit about my background
Please.
and interest in the commission, if that works. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Stephen Welliver. I'm a resident of Council District 5. I'll speak to my professional experience in just a moment, but that's primarily been centered in Council District 13. I moved to Los Angeles 12 years ago to attend graduate school at USC, where I earned both a master's in public administration, which was focused on issues pertaining to city management, and a master's in planning, focused on economic development. Combining those two skill sets, I spent about 8 years working for Downtown Santa Monica, Inc., which is the business improvement district that manages 3rd Street Promenade and the surrounding area in Santa Monica. I served as deputy chief executive there, and I also staffed the committee that reviewed land use issues for downtown, made recommendations to the Planning Commission and City Council on development projects, conditional use permits, discretionary entitlements, and zoning code changes. For the last 2.5 years, I've been working in Hollywood for the Hollywood Partnership, which is the largest business improvement district in the city of LA. I serve both as the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for the BID and Executive Director of Hollywood Partnership Community Trust, which is our affiliate organization, and across both of those capacities, I do strategic planning for the Hollywood neighborhood. I've spent the past year serving on the Board of Taxicab Commissioners, which was enjoyable and interesting, but I believe this commission appointment is more aligned with my background and interests. And on a day like today, when I imagine we're all feeling some anxiety about state and federal policy issues that hang in the balance, I am reminded why I chose to focus on local policy issues. I believe this is where we make decisions that really impact our community and our neighbors on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like this is a commission where I can contribute with my skills and expertise to moving the city forward. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Welliver, I agree with you. I think that your background, after reading a little bit about you and hearing some of your experiences, that you have extensive knowledge on the planning matters. And colleagues, unless does anyone have any questions for this commission member? No? Seeing that, we are going to, we appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Sorry, I changed mine. I'm really thrilled that you're doing this. We talked about this last week when we met on other business, but I think you're going to be a great asset and voice to the commission, and I'm really grateful that you're willing to step up and do this. So thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, Mr. Welliver, we're actually going to have to wait for public comment to vote on this item. So we, in case we had some other time to consideration, wanted to bring you to the table before.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. All right, let's move on to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When your name is called, please line up to your left of the chambers. Sister Payasa, Donald Harlan, Ms. Herman, Antonio Ramirez, Christopher D., Doug Haynes, Anahi Cruz, Mike H., Miss Lindsay, Audit LA, Bike Guy, Alexander Schmidt, Allison Schallert, Alvaro Cabrera, Chase Percadio, Fred Stifter, Helen Eigenberg, Joy McManus, Krista Vernoff, Marilyn Wells, Mary McCormick, Tony Gittleson, Alicia Bartley, Ariel Mandel, Edwin Lee, Elizabeth Patterson, Faye Mandel, Lee Wallach, Marco Yanez.
All right, you do not have to come up and speak in the order that you were called up, just like my colleague said, just line up to the right. And first speaker, please.
Should I also speak on item 18 or just the public comment part?
If you can state your name that you signed up under and the items that you'd like to speak at.
Oh, my name's Allison Schallert, and I signed up for general public and 18.
You'll have
So I
1 minute
do
for
those-
the item.
Okay, cool. So I've watched the city and the city council and the planning department make it more difficult to build 100% affordable housing this year. You've taken away 75% of the land in LA when you took away the single-family zones, and you effectively watered down the single most effective piece of legislation to create affordable housing. I ask you please to not reverse council's support for building affordable housing on religious property. When we created 15 units of housing on church property, it took every single penny stretched to the absolute limit. The church was able to employ local builders. They were able to employ local people to build the land, or to build the project and to continue to run the project. This is one of our students that lives in housing now. He was formerly living in his car, and because we were able to build on church property affordably, he now is a
1 minute for
4.0
general.
student. Oh, that's all I wanted to say, was that you need to make things easier to build, not more difficult and more expensive. Thank you.
Hi, Helen Eigenberg. I live in CD5. I'm so disappointed that you all would slide item 18 on the agenda at the last minute on Election Day, which I'm guessing you were hoping none of us would notice. Please don't reverse the council's support for building affordable housing on the property of religious organizations. More affordable housing is vital to Los Angeles's reducing homelessness. I've been thrilled by what I thought I understood to be the LA City Council's support for these efforts, and are shocked at the possibility that the council would continue to put up or keep putting up barriers to addressing the #1 solution to our city's affordable housing crisis, or a homeless crisis, which is affordable housing. Every time we take a step forward to building more housing, someone finds a way to block it, and it feels like the council falls in line behind them. I would like to ask all of you to please use your political power, get housing built, or we are never getting out of this crisis. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Joy McManus. I live in Council District 5, and I too want to ask you not to throw up more impediments to building affordable housing to help solve our homelessness crisis. I'm a volunteer for a number of organizations to find solutions to homelessness, and the one that the speaker before me just mentioned at Sunnyside, where Stories from the Frontline was able to put up 15 trailers to house, or excuse me, 5 trailers to house 15 college students, all of whom are 4.0 students. And it seems worthwhile to me to do that. And these were trailers. They did not require carpentry. So I support unions and fair wages for union workers, but I don't understand why the wages for members of the carpentry union could get in the way of something like putting trailers or prefabricated small, tiny homes, which are great solutions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Marilyn Wells, Council District 5. A few people mentioned the modular units that we put on a church property in South LA, and I'm just going to read a letter that says it all. I received this today. I just wanted to jump in with an email and give thanks and appreciation to all parties involved in this housing project, especially those on the grounds of Sunnyside Church who provide constant care for that population. As a football coach at Southwest College and having some of the young men who live at Sunnyside on our team, it's a blessing to hear about the stories of support coming from the church by our student athletes. The church members showing up to games to support these young men speaks volumes. I was that young man who didn't have this type of support. It's great to see. The young men we coach could not succeed without housing services. Who can concede without housing. Bless you all.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Mary McCormick. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm going to be real quick, but I just wanted to say, if not faith-based housing, then where? If not churches and synagogues, then where? It seems exactly that's what our churches should be doing, taking people in, housing the unhoused. It seems like the right thing to do here, and I don't want to speak for him, but I feel fairly certain that if God could make this meeting, he or she might have something to say about this. I have watched the city over the last year make it more difficult and more expensive to build affordable housing, and I find it unconscionable that this city council continually prevents the easiest solutions to our massive and growing housing crisis. I ask you to please use your common sense and your compassion, and to please not reverse the council's support for building affordable housing on religious property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Alexander Schmidt. I'm part of District 4, just an ordinary citizen, and I would like to really, for you to say no to this motion or suspend it for future consideration. Homelessness is about community first and foremost. We need to be able to build communities for people to thrive, for people to become outstanding citizens, and this motion suspends their right to be able to achieve that. I request that you give those straight-A students, they like to call themselves scholars, a place to thrive, a chance to become citizens, a chance to become real humans. This is a way to fight homelessness. It's everywhere. We have to use every single tool that we have, and this is the tool that you have. Please do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Krista Vernoff. I live in Council District 5, and I'm here to speak about item 18. I'm speaking to you today as a mother. I have one biological daughter, and I have 2 stepsons, and I have a foster son who I took in when he was 14 and experiencing homelessness. He's 27 today, and he's thriving because he was given a roof over his head and 3 hot meals and love in his life. And I'm here to speak on behalf of many, many people, but the 15 students who are housed at Sunnyside Church who are delivering 4.0 consistent grades. They remind me of my foster son. Their lives have been turned around. And putting this motion for a vote on election day, when half of your council isn't here and where many of the advocates who care about this subject are also not here and we're not given warning, feels profoundly wrong, and like it's not considering the humanity of the kids whose lives will permanently change. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yeah, hi. My name's Tony Gittleson. I live in CD5. I have a general comment and also an item 18. I'm affiliated with the Jewish congregation ECAR, the Multi-Faith Community LA Voice, and I'm co-founder of the Livable Communities Initiative, and I'm a member of the Neighborhood Coalition Hangout Do Good. I can't believe this very consequential item regarding LA's future was scheduled at the very last minute on a hugely consequential election day when so many housing organizers are out in the field getting out the vote, especially for Measure A that will fund affordable housing. Council members, we came down here to speak to you so you could have the courtesy to listen. I don't know if this was an accident in scheduling or deliberate, but this is terrible city planning. This motion should be held over and put on the calendar later. I had no plans to be here today. I was going to be out canvassing to get out the vote. As to the substance of this motion, my congregation ECAR has struggled for 5 long years to get 60 units of affordable housing built for formerly homeless seniors on our property. It's been a long, hard, very costly struggle I had a general.
1 minute for general.
All right, I'll submit the rest via email. Thank you. You could pay attention.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Haynes. I will be speaking on numbers 5, 6, and 9, 10, and 11. So,
2 minutes for the items.
thank you very much. First on 9, 10, and 11, I want to thank the chair for bringing these before this committee and also the council. When it comes to haul routes, the community is often shut out of that process, and I think it's just critical that this be something that's more discretionary than just ministerial. On 10 and 11, I'm sure we all share the concerns that are expressed with these agenda items regarding the abatement issues. If you go to Culver City or Burbank or Glendale, you don't see the decimation and the devastation that you do at the construction sites that you do in Hollywood and other parts of Los Angeles. And it's time that there should be some abatement to control these issues. I would also suggest that there might be a potential for incentives for the developers to maintain their property in a way that they can make profit off, and that might be some modifications to allowing Airbnb, so there's actually people living in these properties and they're not vacant, so squatters take over and you subsequently have fires and other problems. When it comes to numbers 5 and 6, which is the primary reason I'm here, and I hope the committee members will listen to me and the other two speakers follow me on this issue, these are projects that will potentially put out of business Linoleum City because of the construction issues, not only with these projects, but with other projects within their area. Linoleum City has been here 73 years. It's an entertainment-related business, and this city seems to have an affinity for putting out of business such businesses that have supported our community for years. And I also point out, when it comes to Heliotrope, this is a neighborhood, this block in particular, the 1100 block of North Heliotrope, where these parcels are almost all single-family homes, and now they'll have 3 5-story buildings, not only the two before you, but another one. It's decimating this neighborhood and this block. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Fred Stifter, and I'm here to speak on items 5 and 6. I am the president
2 minutes for the items.
Pardon me?
You have 2 minutes for the items.
Thank you. I am the president of Linoleum City. Our family business was founded in 1948, and we are celebrating 76 years in Hollywood on Route 66, and we have approximately 20 employees. I'm bringing this appeal because the projects that are proposed for our neighborhood will have a dramatic effect on our business and employees. Our primary customers are the studio and motion picture business. The lack of parking and the traffic nightmares this will create for our business may force us out of business. As you know, the studios use 5-ton trucks to pick up the products they buy from us and many other retailers in the area. They need access to our parking lot, which is also our customer parking lot. Tenants from the projects that are proposed and their visitors will be attempting to park in our lot illegally, and it will be a burden on us to try and manage that situation. I implore you to rethink these projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Alvaro Cabrera. I'm speaking on agendas 5 and 6. I'm a 53-year resident of the neighborhood Berendo, where this apartment building is planned on being built. I've seen this neighborhood go from a nice area to a bad area, coming back to a nice area. I believe that this apartment building is way oversized for the residential area. You're talking about single-family homes all on this block. The tallest building we have on this block is 2 stories. Your own ordinance only allows 3 stories for residential apartment buildings. This is going to be 5 stories. I understand that the parking situation is the law now because we're within 1,500 feet of the metro station. But do you really believe that these 2 units combined is 60 units You really believe that 60 units are not going to bring any cars along with them? That's pie in the sky. So I please hope that you guys will not approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Bartley with Gaines and Stacy, and we represent Lincoln Heights Holding LLC on item number 1. I'm speaking right now in opposition to the last-minute continuance request by Council District 14. The CEQA appeal has been pending for 16 months. In August, we were here in front of you. We agreed to a voluntary phase 2 to satisfy unfounded concerns about soil contamination. September, we were back here again. We were continued once again due to the last-minute request of CD14 to independently review the phase 2. The council office has confirmed to us that they are satisfied with the results of the phase 2, and there are no CEQA issues with this project. However, we're here again on another request for continuance so that we can work out a labor agreement. Again, this is a CEQA appeal. The last-minute continuances of this case are a clear violation of the Housing Accountability Act. The city's bad faith is now well documented in the record. The act mandates mandates are clear, and the failure of the Plum to act on the CEQA appeals today will expose the city to fines and fees in excess of $2 million. The project brings 184 units to the city, 47 of which are designated as affordable. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm speaking general comment and item number 11. My name's Lee Wallach. First, the restaurant beverage program. One of the best things this body has ever worked on and passed in this city. Unfortunately, the Palms community, where I'm from, and have been there since I was 3, cannot take advantage of the restaurant beverage program. Due to one line in our specific plan, we cannot take advantage of this amazing program. Our restaurants are at a complete disadvantage from restaurants across the street. In meeting with staff, we had a wonderful meeting with CD5, 11, and 3. A little bit of 11 has the same problem. They can't take advantage of that either. It's a staffing issue. We got to get more staff. We got to help planning to do whatever they can do, because there's one position open, and that position is the one that can change the one line in our specific plan. Item number 11. I urge a yes on this motion. We have bad developers and good developers. In my opinion, Wiseman is one of the worst. We used to view our department as building and safety. We haven't seen the safety part. We've had at least 2 developments that have had 3 or more fires. We have to fix this situation. Our developer in this area that I mentioned earlier has been warned repeatedly that there are fire dangers. They have had more fires, demolition without a permit, more encampments. It comes at an extremely high cost to our community when this continues over and over and over. But there's no downside for the developer. There's no repercussions. The same developer let homeless stay in his unit and break into the preschools next door on 2 locations. Just the fire activity alone is costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have to help them. We also have to help developers to be able to demo without their permits being finalized. There's something in the middle that we can do. We're better than that as a city.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth Peterson, applicant's representative on item 1. I just wanted to speak briefly. This mixed income housing contributes to the well-being of communities and individuals. Mixed income and development fosters inclusivity. The development contains the highest percentage of very low income housing for any project of its kind in this community. All of the entitlements for this development have been completed in 2024. We completed 2 environmental studies on the site. Both came back clean. We had numerous meetings with the community, stakeholders, with residents, with business owners, and with nonprofits. The CEQA concerns have been cleared. We spent 16 months. We've been here to Plum 4 times. We've been to council twice. We'd like to respectfully request that you look at this project carefully in the future. On our continuous date, we feel it's a strong, vibrant project for the community, and we've been very careful at looking at the community needs. It has an affirmative marketing plan, and again, the lowest income housing amount of its kind. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Audit LA.
on number 11, 18, maybe something else in public comment, please.
2 minutes for the items and 1 for general comment.
Thank you, sir. I'm very happy to see that there's community impact statement from a neighborhood council. I wish more neighborhood councils would speak up, and I wish that you guys would solicit more for the neighborhood councils to give you input. When it comes to this one, I am concerned because, you know, a group that does a lot of construction that's not permitted is the Church of Scientology. They have a lot of buildings, and they also call the police and fire department a lot. And you know, like, so can you please add them to this list? Thank you, Ms. Padilla. See, she's my favorite today, Ms. Padilla. She's listening. She's gonna be my bestie yet. She has to dump Unisys though. Unisys is her bestie right now. But well, you know. Anyway, so I just want you, if you could, Ms. Padilla, just, you know, make sure they have their permits. I'm not saying they can't do their construction, but right, everyone has to have permits, right? And no one's above the law, right? I mean, you have to have your permits. So make sure they have the permits for their illegal ADA planners, for all the construction, the tunnel that they're working on, everything. Just make sure they have their permits, and ask them to please stop calling the police and fire so much on people who are peaceful protesters, whatever, you know, they shouldn't be doing that. Okay, 18, isn't that yours, Ms. Padilla? You know what, and I'm gonna be a supportive bestie and say, well, if Ms. Padilla's, you know, here asking for something, you know, let's hear her out and, you know, and be supportive, okay? But basically with this is, I'm concerned about housing, okay, too, with the city attorney. And for a serious note, like I spoke in the last meeting, 2 teen girls tried to escape Scientology on Sunday. We have no idea where they are and if they're okay, and I am...
General comment.
General comment, okay. We'll get back to that story. You know what it is, they escaped, but I mean, the one was snatched up by 5 Scientologists, like security, and the other one did get to a neighbor who she begged not to call the police. And, but they did, and we have no idea where she is and what's going on, so we're asking for a look into that. I am showing you here, I am suing the city because the Scientology, they lied to LAPD about their permits for street closures and ended up having my rights violated. I'm not really I mean, the police should have done due diligence, but my only ask, I don't want money from the city. I'm just asking that you remove the 2 people that are on the Northeast Division's CPAB, Janet Wayland and Parker Osmond. That is my only request in my lawsuit against the city, but I am suing. Just to let you know, you're put on notice. Because you know what, enough of the abuse. Thank you, and you know, everyone get out and vote.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Heck yeah, audit. Okay. My name is Sister Payasa. I was going to speak on all available items, but I'm just going to do general public comment, please.
1 minute.
Thank you. So I was listening to some of the prior speakers, and I think that their comments are worthy of listening to. One woman was speaking about how, if I could just get the gist, this meeting was happening on an election day when most of their workers are out. And she was wondering if that was on purpose. And I personally think it is on purpose, y'all. And I'm just here to tell the audience that nothing in here is a mistake. Nothing in here is by accident. They're very calculated, just like how there was a meeting at 2 o'clock upstairs in 401 and a meeting down here in the Ferrero room at 2 o'clock. See, nothing's a mistake. Nothing's an accident here, everybody. They are social engineering the people's public hearings and curating the public process. That's a violation of the Constitution. And I really think that you need to listen to Ms. Audit LA, because she's bringing attention really egregious, nasty shit happening. Those girls deserve justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Mr. B. Lee.
What items would you like to speak on?
Who said that? You did? Over here? You? I want all items and non-agenda public comments.
2 minutes for the items, 1 for general comment.
God damn. yeah. You know this item number 24-1136? You know what's relative to the tentative tract of this appeals is that they should be given more accommodations and come up with a formula to get this fucking project done. Instead of wasting our fucking time here with that fucking Chongo, oh, I'm sorry, he's not up there, Lee, the other guy, to settle the dispute on item 12. So I don't want just less time. I don't want unfortunate time. I want the time to settle this shit so that Zev Yorwalski can come in here and tell his goddamn daughter-in-law she's doing a fucking good job. Otherwise, the juju don't understand why a nigger like me speaks on behalf of the public's interest. I have every reason to suspect that Lee is a rat and he's gonna find something wrong about Padilla from her Valley Girl style of schooling that she's gonna get schooled by the FBI soon. And that's why she plays that dirty game of, oh, Mother Teresa #2. No, you'll never be Mother Teresa because we know, goddammit, like you said during that public comment, you said, oh, I got into the business from a union rep. We all have the same fucking union people that told you to vote for Kamala Harris. Fuck Kamala Harris. We all vote for Trump, and we're gonna build and make America what it should be. Great, instead of the shithole, piece of shit, plum fucking shit that we're going through now. Now into my general public comment. 42 U.S.C. 1983 politely, fuck all your agenda items for the day. The reason why is because I'm gonna go downtown and vote for Trump. And the reason why I'm voting for Trump is because I'm tired of that snappy, fucking filthy Jewish wife who wants to be your president. Lie after lie, 3 fucking years of lying, and all you white niggers in here too know what I'm talking about. You believe her. What has she done for homelessness? Nothing. What has she done for more food for us with inflation? Nothing. What has she done about
Can
the
you
gas
please keep
prices?
your comments, the items related to this committee?
It all comes to plumb. How to develop society around all these fucking problems. The more money you want, the more problems we get. 50 Cent said it on the record. And now I'm saying it. Fuck the police, fuck the city of Los Angeles, and fuck you, John Lee.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, let me call the remaining names. George Bocanegra, Jamie Hall, Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council, Marissa Nuncio, Meyer Schwarstein, Nam Kim, Nathan, Patty Wong, Paulo Suarez, and Robert Lovelace.
All right. All motherfucking items, general public comment. So, look at this motherfucking number 12. Have you ever seen a bucket of corruption more corrupt than number 12? Look at all that motherfucking shit. Padilla can't even read what it says. Can you read what it says? It says indictment. That's what number 12 says. You want to take these goddamn box houses and squish them on in so the developer gets 47% more FAR. And who the fuck paid for that? Did the community vote for it, Padilla? You're such full of shit, Padilla. You're all for the poor people. This ain't poor housing. This is rich housing. Why are you not having affordable housing down there in that goddamn ghetto? What the fuck are you doing here? Are you fucking insane? We got a housing crisis. Look at all this bullshit on this goddamn agenda. One motherfucking unaffordable. 1 out of 12 is gonna be affordable. 1 out of 12. And what's the median income, Padilla? What, 98,000 a year? That's affordable housing income? You people are completely insane and full of shit and everything that goes in between. That's why we got a message here today from Maury Goldman, your goddamn favorite friend, an FBI rat. And I encourage all developers, I encourage all lobbyists to record every conversation and send it to our good friend, the U.S. Attorney's Office, just like John Lee should turn his ass into the U.S. Attorney's Office too, because all of this shit is nothing but a bunch of fucking corruption. Now we get to the general comment. Why the fuck Imelda Padilla is a guy that's facing 10 fucking ethics charges dealing with property in the fucking chairmanship of this committee? Why are you married to him? Why are you sharing the same bed with him? Why are you eating out of the same porridge jar as this motherfucker here? We don't know if he's guilty. We haven't had an adjudication yet. But this guy can go and launder his shit all he wants. If he knows he's going down, he goddamn could get millions of dollars in an offshore fucking account and nobody even know. All these city employee motherfuckers are all here. Let's take a roll call. Are you going to talk to the FBI? No. Are you
Can you
going to talk to the
keep
FBI?
the items of members on the
Nope.
agenda? This is
That's
your first
right.
warning.
You don't like that. I'm going to keep saying it, John Lee. FBI. Everybody. FBI.
All right.
FBI.
Can you close
Shut
this member's
place
time?
down. FBI.
Next speaker, please.
Now, that's your first warning that you're interrupting the meeting.
Next speaker, please.
Yes, good afternoon. I'll be speaking on item number 18. My name is George Bocanegra. I am a member of the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters. I am here on behalf of the working class and Angelenos. I've been a union carpenter for 26 years, and I put 2 kids through college throughout my career as a carpenter. We want to make sure that people that build can live in these units. It's important that people in the construction business that don't have health care, any other benefits, that we want to make sure that they don't have to rely on public assistance. Also, the laws of California should be the laws of the city of Los Angeles when it comes to building housing. Making sure that people that are building the housing units are not getting exploited should be on the top of your priority. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mike Greenspan, all items in public comment.
2 minutes for the items, 1 for general.
Okay, let me continue on something previously mentioned, and that's items 5 and 6, and the fact that they are building all these 60 units and 0 parking spaces. Now, let's get real, folks. You know, we have a mayor that lives in this dream world about an all-mass transit Olympics. We can't even get that in everyday life, all-mass transit. Now, those people are going to be having vehicles. Come on. Why are we omitting it? It'd be like building a unit and not putting any water in. Parking is just as important as every other aspect of any housing, because we're a car society, and that's what we've always been. Now, compare it with number 12, and there's all these units and everything else, and parking galore. Boy, every unit has 2 parking spaces. I can't believe it. So you have one thing without parking and one thing with a glut of parking. And good-sized units that even include very low-income housing. Now, they used to always use the word affordable until people like me question affordable for whom. And so now they use the low income and very low income. Now there's an appointee here, Mr. Stephen Walliver, to the Los Angeles Central Area Planning Commission for the term ending June 30th, 2026. To the victor goes the spoils. Had it been Caruso, that appointee would have been Englander, because with Englander there's never a bribe he didn't like. Money bribes, hotel room bribes, liquor bill bribes, pussy bribes. I mean, and John Lee was his accomplice on that Las Vegas trip. So, you know, I just think all that just sucks a dick like this. And now, let's talk about
General comment.
General comment. We have the Planning Commission. And Planning and Land Use is a very lucrative committee. There was a guy on the committee named Mitch Englander. Yes, part-time pig, connected, Uncle Harvey, the consultant, chief deputy to Greg Smith. And guess what? He took bribes, and his protege, Englander Jr., now chairs the committee. Let's hear it for Englander Jr. He probably was the rat in all this that got off scot-free, probably took just as much bribes, money bribes, hotel room bribes. He was there in Vegas, liquor bill bribes, pussy bribes. Isn't that nice? And you know, that part-time pig was pictured on election night in 2014 next to some sheriff-elect named Jim McDonald. Isn't that nice? Our next chief of pigs pals around with felons. That sucks a dick like this one.
Next speaker, please.
Hey, you forgot your cell phone. You forgot your cell phone. I would like to speak on 8, 11, 17 general.
2 minutes for the items, 1 for general comment.
Start with number 8. 8 is about the housing production in downtown community. Yes, there's a huge problem about housing in downtown LA, and I believe everybody, without me saying it, everybody you should already know. 70,000 people somehow living on the street. That means we need 70,000 house in downtown LA. But since the late 70s until 2024, 60 years, do we do anything about that 60,000 housing? Because the population of the Skid Row in downtown community are still continue to grow, and then we do not see much house are being built in a timely manner. So it's something we continue to talk about in the committee, we continue to talk about in the city council, we continue to talk about in the mayor's office, but in reality, no action. Number 11, it's about the negligent property owners because of our inactive construction. So I'm having a huge issues, and then hopefully the whole city are having issues about those inactive construction, because there are a lot of squatters just take over a house, empty house. A lot of squatters just take over the inactive construction site and then use that as their primary residence. I really hope our LAPD starts to regulating those inactive construction. I really wish our city council are doing much about those inactive construction, but however, our city attorney has no enforcement action, never regulate. Our law enforcement, our fire department never do much about those construction, and then we continue to allow squatters to invade those construction sites. For number 17 is about cannabis regulation. Talking about cannabis, marijuana, any sort of drug, every time I go on the metro bus, and I smell like cannabis. Every time I pass by a middle school, elementary school, smells of cannabis. Every time I enter the city hall restroom, there smells like cannabis, because there's no such thing as a regulation. So right now we are talking about regulation relative, but again, what I see on the street, a 10-year-old kid somehow have access to cannabis. Does our council member care about that? No. Somehow, some people at school, elementary school, middle school, high school, have free access to cannabis. Does our city council regulate anything about that? Absolutely no.
Next speaker, please.
I'm speaking on item 15. My name is Patty Wong, and I'm here on behalf of my elderly parents who purchased a condo at 848 Arolo in 2010, which is within 600 feet of 3300 West 8th Street. I attended the first planning meeting in January 2024 to object to this liquor license. After that, my parents and I gathered over 100 signatures in a petition opposing this liquor license from those who live and work in the area. These neighbors work hard and can't take time off their job, and so I represent them as well today. We have had residents of 848 Arolo call and complain to LAPD about noise and drunk people after 2 a.m. coming from this location. Specifically, within the last 2 years, the karaoke bar has been built out and illegally operating. No ABC license, no business license. I know Vice has raided it a couple times, and they always come back. No one comes to assist the neighbors, and we have followed up on those complaints and been told that there are just not enough patrols. This is the last thing that the neighborhood needs, and at the appeals hearing, numerous Spanish-speaking neighbors testified as to this, but their testimonials were not given heavy weight. As such, I hope you will consider all of these concerns and issues as you deliberate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm here to speak on item 15 and general public comment.
1 minute for the item and 1 for general comment.
All right. My name is Pablo Suarez. I'm a PhD student in urbanization, and I'm studying gentrification. I'm also a member of Unión de la Ocho, or 8th Street United. We're a committee of neighbors, about 25 members, mothers, all of them Oaxacan, Mexican, living in Koreatown, and we're all opposed to the karaoke bar project that is being listed on item 15. On September 24, we participated in the public hearing on this proposed project that appealed the developer's right to a conditional use permit to sell and dispense alcohol and develop the karaoke bar. A group of 25 expressed our opposition to the project, and in the past 3 days, we have created a petition against the project and have collected more than 119 signatures from community members opposed to the proposed karaoke bar. We're opposed to this project for the following reasons. It is a project with no community approval. The community has not been consulted. Outreach was conducted all in English, not in Spanish. We have our own petition opposing the project, and there is another petition of over 100 signatures from nearby neighbors. It is incentivizing criminal activity in the area since the bar has been running illicitly for years. And you might hear that it hasn't been running illicitly, that since the owner has taken over, it hasn't been running illegally, but it has. And all of our neighbors have mentioned it. They've seen the vans. They've seen different people coming in at night. And I just beg you I implore you to think about the mothers, Oaxacan Mexican immigrants that in our moment are suffering pretty deeply due to the election, the atmosphere that the election is creating, and they know what they're seeing. And these karaoke bars specifically intends to bring a different type of clientele to the area, and is going to displace a lot of the neighbors. So please just pay attention to the neighbors and to the tenants that are living in the area, and the community that's trying not to get displaced in this time, in this moment of increased houselessness and homelessness crisis.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and member of the committee. I'm here with Mr. Nam Kim, who is the appellant of the decision by Central Area Planning Commission. We'd like to speak on item number 15 and also general comment.
You're going to have your 3 minutes when we hear the item later in the meeting.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'd like to read out his statement.
Yeah,
no, we're going to hear
when we call your item
number 15.
If he's the appellant, when we call the item number 13, he can speak at that point, and then we'll have 3 minutes for the appellant.
Come back. Okay, thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Hall. I'm here today representing Voters for Superior Hollywood Plan on item 16. You're being asked to vote yes for a hidden and sweeping policy change here. Please don't vote yes. There's zero urgency for this. To be clear, this has nothing to do with affordable housing. This ordinance affects 20% of the land area of the city and paves the way to repeal important local planning. It's not just administrative. The City of Los Angeles agreed in 2019 to accept the responsibilities and obligations remaining in the land use portions of redevelopment plans. You're being asked to obliterate them. The plans varied widely across Los Angeles, but Hollywood had an expertly well-crafted and operational plan, detailed and local like a specific plan, for 35 years. I'm speaking on behalf of a coalition of public interest groups. My client sees the proposal as the latest of many attempts to kill the Hollywood redevelopment plan. Hollywood has a historic district listed at the highest level in America on the National Register. You're now being asked to pave pave the way to kill it. Please continue this item, get real facts first.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Robert, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Robert Lovelace. I represent the Western Regional States Council of Carpenters. I am here today to speak in support of item 18, Councilmember McCosker's motion to ensure that state-adopted labor standards and affordability incentives are implemented in the city of Los Angeles. Simply put, we want to build more housing, especially more affordable housing. We also want to reduce exploitation where workers, in a sector where workers, 39% of which in the construction of California's construction workers rely on some form of public assistance. Despite the inherent danger of construction work, construction workers are 3 times more likely than any other worker to not have health insurance. The motion in SB 4 assures that affordable housing incentives included in the measure adopts not only health insurance, but workers are compensated according to state law. This is why this motion is supported by the mayor and 7 members of the city council. We urge you to adopt this motion in order to bring workers closer to where they work and to improve the environment and the quality of lives for Los Angeles families. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Chair, we have one more speaker. Meyer Schwarstein.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Meyer Schwartzstein. I'm also an appellant on item number 12.
Okay, we will hear the appeal when the item's called.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yeager. Colleagues, at this time, I'd like to go to our consent calendar. I have listed here, unless you have any objections, items 2, 3, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 16, and 19. Are there any objections to taking these items on consent? All right. Mr. Mejia, can you please call the roll on these items? Oh, let me read the recommendations. I apologize. Recommendation for item number 2 is approve the environmental clearance, the categorical exemption, and a zone change ordinance for the property located at 6320 to 6344.5 North Sepulveda Boulevard, as recommended in the South Valley Area Planning Commission report dated June 27th, 2024, subject to conditions of approval and adoptions of project findings and the additional conditions submitted by Council District 6 relative to the landscape buffer, gate and sound wall, and landscape plan, which have been reviewed by the Planning Department. For item number 3, I'd like to approve the vesting zone and height district change ordinance as recommended in the Planning Commission report dated September 5th, 2024. For item number 7, I'd like to approve the city attorney ordinance dated October 18th, 2024, with an urgency clause to prohibit the issuance of permits for warehousing, distribution, and storage uses over 15,000 square feet within the existing Cornfield Arroyo Seco specific plan, as recommended by the Planning Department in its report dated June 5th, 2024. For item number 9, adopt the motion. Item number 10, adopt the motion. Item number 11, adopt the motion. Item number 13, approve the inclusion of Jules Catch 1 located at 4061 to 4069 West Pico Boulevard, 1263 to 1271 South Norton Avenue, Los Angeles 90019, in the city's list of historical cultural monuments. Item 16, request the city attorney to prepare and present the draft ordinance. And on item number 19, approve the vesting zone change ordinance for the adaptive reuse of an existing 118,784 square foot multiplex theater building, Pacific Theater, for a new Tesla delivery hub and service center for the property located at 9201 North Winnetka Avenue, 9201 to 9205 North Winnetka Avenue, subject to conditions of approval and adoption of project findings as recommended by the Planning Commission in its report dated October 22nd, 2024. Can you please call the roll on those items?
Sure.
Oh, hold on, 1 second. And I apologize, item number 14. To approve Mr. Welliver's nomination to the Central Area Planning Commission. Can you please call the roll on those items?
Yes. So the items are 2 and 3, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, and 19.
That's correct.
Mr. Lee,
Aye?
Ms. Hutt is absent. Ms. Yaroslavsky,
Yes.
Ms. Padilla,
Yes.
and Mr. De Leon absent. Those are 3 ayes, and those items are approved, sir.
All right, I'm going to take some items out of order. Right now, if we can take item number 15, if you can read that into the agenda, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Item 15, sir, you have 2 options. One, to consider the matter and veto it and remand it, or 2, to hear the appeal. And the appeal is by Mr. Nam Kim, who is challenging the zoning administrator's determination to approve a conditional use to allow the sale and dispensing of alcohol beverages for on-site consumption in conjunction with a 5,000 square foot restaurant and karaoke establishment in CD 10. This matter is before the committee as a Charter Section 245 motion by Ms. Hutt and Ms. Park.
All right, thank you very much. If we can hear the appellant on this project? Oh, sorry, Planning Department. Apologize, Planning Department. I apologize, Mr. Chu.
Yes, good afternoon, Honorable Plum Committee members. My name is Henry Chu, Associate Zoning Administrator. The item before you is a council office, involves council offices earning jurisdiction over an October 9, 2024 determination issued by the Central Area Planning Commission. Briefly, on July 20 of 2024, Zoning Administrator Christina Lee approved a conditional use for the sales and dispensing of a full line of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption in conjunction with the proposed restaurant/karaoke establishment, and determined the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15301, Class 1. The determination was appealed by the voice of Wilshire Koreatown Community. At the September 24, 2024 Central Area Planning Commission meeting, the commission acted to grant the appeal in part and deny the appeal in part and sustain the zoning administrator's determination. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Can I now have the appellant please present their appeal? You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm here with Mr. Nam Kim, the appellant for this particular item. First and foremost, I'd like to commend Ms. Hutt for her motion to Section 245 provide this item as assert jurisdiction. I think she did the right thing for the community. In interest of time, I'd like to, in verbatim, state Mr. Nam's statement. Good afternoon, council members. My name's Nam Kim. I'm the founder of Voice of Wilshire Koreatown Community. First of all, last time in council, I tried to explain the issue here, but the microphones suddenly turned off. The reason was that they said 1 minute for the speech. I don't understand, is that possible to explain the issue for 1 minute when there are so many residents suffering and struggling? For the record, at the council meeting, there were about 20 senior citizens that were present for the item, but unfortunately they could not be here today. I think this kind of hearing is formality, and I think the city council members should change the rule. However, I know the owners of this karaoke bar very well, so my heart is very heavy Anyway, I cannot ignore the difficulties and inconvenience of many residents who could not be here today. So I came here to choose the voice of the residents and convey their voice. What is shocking is that the decision of the commissioners is disregarding fairness and common sense. I cannot understand who the commissioners are making this decision for. If they truly wanted to serve the citizens, I think they should make decisions based on the residents' problems and police reports, rather than sitting at their desks and listening to a few people's stories. So are the people who have been operating legally fools until now? I strongly argue that allowing illegal businesses to operate in our community after more than 5 years is unfair and against common sense. Also, the city of Los Angeles is struggling with high housing costs, rent, labor costs, high auto insurance premiums, and high parking costs in this area. When I talk to the residents, they say that it's very difficult and painful to live, and that it is realistically difficult to attend public hearings. I earnestly ask the city council members and commissioners to create a system where they can hear the voice of the residents on the spot, if please. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Sir, can you hear from the applicant now?
Members of the committee, my name is Edwin Lee, representing attorney for Mr. Youngjin Park. I urge this committee to not revoke and allow consumption of alcohol in my client's karaoke bar. This committee has previously granted, on its merits, a license and permission to allow consumption of alcohol on the premises located at 3300 West 8th Street. I believe this appeal was initiated by a business competitor, Mr. Nam-Gun Kim, and the licensed broker-dealer, Mr. Stephen Kim, who you just heard from. My client refused to use their service, and now they are on retaliation to destroy my client's business. My client has devoted his life and fortune to run this karaoke bar, and revocation would absolutely destroy his business and livelihood. As I said, this case is an attempt on business competitor to destroy my client's business and take control over that area. Therefore, I plead this committee to base its decision on the merits of the case and the facts and evidence presented before this committee. I note that the appellant himself has said that there are other residents who is behind him, but none of them are here. It is just a list of names that he claims that he has the support of. Unless they come here or present a solid evidence on their support of his claims, this committee should not take or put any weight on the evidence presented. If no facts, actual facts of illegality or arguments are presented before this committee to revoke license and permission, I plead that this committee maintain its previous decision, which was decided on its merits. My client's karaoke bar is no different than hundreds of other karaoke bars that are located within that area. And without further facts and arguments and evidence presented to this board, my client's business should not be treated any differently than any other karaoke bars that are located within that premises. And to note that there are many other businesses operating within that business center. And to claim that based on the noise that the condo residents hear, it is insufficient to revoke the license and destroy one man's business that has been operating for over 5 years. Thank you.
Okay, right now, is there any comments from Council District 12? Council District 10. Is there any representative, Council District 10, to wish to speak on this item?
Chair. And Honorable Chair and committee members, the councilwoman has entered her position in the record through her 245.
Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, any questions? Planning Department? Okay, so at this time, I would like to, I'm going to grant the appeal filed by Nam Kwon Kim, Voice of Wilshire Koreatown Community, and thereby overturn the zoning administrator's determination approving a conditional use pursuant to Municipal Code Section 12.24W.1 to allow the sale and dispensing of a full line of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption in conjunction with a new 5,000 square foot restaurant and karaoke establishment with 15 enclosed karaoke rooms and a total of 133 indoor seats, with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday for the property located at 3300 West 8th Street, and instruct the zoning administrator to prepare any necessary amended findings and modified conditions of approval. Mr. Mejia, can you please call the roll on that item?
Yes, sir. And just a comment to the zoning administrator. The original hours of operation that were imposed, those hours were overturned by the central APC. So we need clarification as to what the hours will be by granting this appeal. And when the zoning administrator prepares the findings, to clarify what those hours will be. I will call the...
You got all that?
Yes, this is...
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shu.
Thank you. I will call the roll, sir. Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Hutt is absent. Ms. Jaroslavsky?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla?
Yes.
And Mr. De Leon absent. That's 3 ayes, and that item is approved to overturn the zoning administrator and grant the appeal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mejia. Can we move on to item number 17? Can you read that into the record?
Yes, sir. Item 17. Yes, item 17 is a report from the Cannabis Department, Cannabis Regulation Department, rather, relative to the proposed ordinance amendments to various sections of the municipal code to streamline the cannabis licensing process.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to, is there anyone here from DCR?
The director of the department is here.
Okay, if you can please come to the desk.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, do you have any questions for the department?
Jessica Fugate with Government Relations for DCR.
Colleagues, any questions for DCR? No? No questions? Well, there you go.
Thank
Then
you.
we're going to request the city attorney to prepare and present the draft ordinance with an urgency clause to amend the municipal code in accordance with the proposed amendments recommended in the October 23rd, 2024 Department of Cannabis Regulation Report. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
With that, Mr. Mejia, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Hutt absent. Ms. Jaroslavsky?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla?
Yes.
And Mr. De Leon absent. That's 3 ayes, and that item is approved, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Can we move on to item number 1 on today's agenda?
Item 1, sir. Yes. I believe that item, sir, was continued?
Oh, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay, then I'd like to take items 5 and 6 at this time.
Yes, sir. Item 5, this is a categorical exemption, an appeal filed by Fred Stifer, Linoleum City, Inc., represented by Mr. Jamie Hall from Channel Law Group, who's challenging the approval of environmental clearance for the construction of a 5-story, 30-unit residential building. 4 of the dwelling units will be reserved for extremely low-income household properties located in CD 13. And item 6, also a challenge, excuse me, yes, 5 and 6. Those are together. And item 6, let me look at the description here. Again, it's a challenge by the same individual and the same attorney representing them. And it's a challenge on the construction of a 30-unit residential building on sub-area C, which is located in the Vermont Western Station Neighborhood Area Specific Plan.
All right. Bolivia Planning Department, please present your report.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Danilyn Dominguez with the Department of City Planning. The items before the committee today are CEQA appeals for transit-oriented community projects. Both projects are 5-story, 30-unit residential buildings. One is located at 1114 North Heliotrope Drive, and the other is located at 1115 and 1117 North Barrando Street. On April 24th, 2024, the Director of Planning approved 2 30-unit residential buildings and adopted categorical exemptions number ENV-2021-1239-CE for the Heliotrope project and case number environmental ENV-2022-1539-CE as the environmental clearance for the project at 1115 North Barrando Street. An appeal was filed by Fred Stifter of Linoleum City Incorporated for both projects. On July 25th, 2024, the City Planning Commission, following its consideration of the materials and testimony, denied both appeals and sustained the Director of Planning's determinations. Another subsequent CEQA appeals were filed on the CPC determination letters by the same appellant. The appeals rely on the same arguments and information as presented during the environmental appeal. Staff responses to the appeal have been transferred to the council files for council's consideration. And based on the information, staff recommends that the Plum Committee deny the appeals and sustain the original determinations as granted by the City Planning Commission. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. Can we have, is there an appellant, Mr. Fred Stifter from Linoleum City, or his representative from Channel Law Group?
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Hall. I'm a land use and environmental attorney with Channel Law Group, and I'm here today representing appellant Linoleum City. As detailed in our October 29th, 2024 comment letter, the city's usage of a Class 32 categorical exemption for this project is not supported by substantial evidence. In order to be eligible for an urban infill exemption, a project must not result in any significant effects related to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. The city has not met its burden to demonstrate the exemption applies. My client commissioned 2 expert reports, one for noise and another for air quality and public health, that both demonstrate that the project will have a significant effect on the environment. Therefore, the city cannot deem this project exempt from CEQA. The noise report we submitted into the record was prepared by Steve Rogers Acoustics. Mr. Rogers concluded as follows. Number 1, all of the proposed construction equipment would fail to meet the noise limit of 75 dBA at 50 feet prescribed by the LAMC without tall, 24-foot tall noise barriers at the perimeter of the site to block the line of sight to the upper floors of the 3-story townhomes adjacent to the site. Conclusion number 2, even with the noise barriers of sufficient height to provide 10 dBA insertion loss, the noise of the proposed concrete/industrial saws would still exceed the 75 dBA limit during the demolition phase. Conclusion number 3, noise levels generated during all phases of construction of the project would greatly exceed the city's current daytime CEQA threshold of 80 dBA without tall 24 feet noise barriers at the perimeter of the site to block the line of sight to the upper floors of the 3-story townhomes adjacent to the site. Conclusion number 4, even with noise barriers of sufficient height to provide 10 dBA insertion loss, construction noise levels received at the neighboring residential buildings during the demolition and paving phases would still exceed the 80 dBA CEQA threshold. Conclusion number 5, the applicant's proposed construction hours extend as late as 9 p.m. on weekdays. Any construction activity between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. would exceed the city's nighttime CEQA threshold by causing noise levels incident on the closest residential buildings to exceed the existing ambient noise level by significantly more than 5 dBA. This is true with or without tall noise barriers. The air quality report we submitted into the record was prepared by Mr. Ray Kapahi of Environmental Permitting Specialist. The EPS report concluded that the project's emissions of NOx and diesel particulate matter would result in significant impacts to air quality and public health. The EPS report explained that the developer's expert reports were faulty because they did not conduct a site-specific analysis to confirm the NAAQS and CAAQS would not be violated. The applicant has not prepared any evidence to refute these reports, nor has staff rebutted them. Please acknowledge the expert reports that have been presented to you, acknowledge the evidence, and grant the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Is there an applicant here to present the project? You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lee and committee members. My name is Ben Roca, Roca Development. I'm the land use consultant for the applicant. Since the appellant focused his claim on the CEQA and the air quality and greenhouse gases, I will respond in like. We submitted evidence to the committee from York Engineering, our air quality, greenhouse gas, and noise study, letter dated October 15, 2024, which was an addendum to the original study dated July 21st, 2023. And I'll read it to you. In response to the appellant concerns, the air quality greenhouse gas noise analysis were done for both projects combined as simultaneous cumulative impacts, i.e. not piecemealing. The cumulative air quality greenhouse gas noise impacts presented in the October 26, 2022 and the July 21st, 2023 versions of the letter report are the same. The difference is the July 21st version discussed electrification features for consistency with the new LA City requirements. The original plans called for 26 units in each building, later increased to 30 units in each building, a 15.4 increase. However, this increase is applied across the board to all impacts for both buildings. The project still does not exceed any thresholds. Thus, no conclusions or findings change with regard to impacts, i.e. less than significant. However, please note that for noise, the increase is logarithmic, not arithmetic, and a 15.4% increase represents a less than 1 decibel change in sound levels, which would be indiscernible in an urban setting with and nevertheless below thresholds. In conclusion, the air quality greenhouse gas noise analysis for both projects occurring simultaneously do not constitute piecemealing of impacts. Furthermore, we want to state the fact that physically it's impossible to have developed both projects as one. Reason being is that there is a DWP easement that bifurcates between the two parcels. So it was explored at one point in time to have these developed as one, and it was completely disregarded, and you cannot underground those overhead power lines. So these two projects had to be processed independently, and therefore all the studies had to be prepared as sister projects. These are not one project. That concludes my statement.
All right, is there anyone here from Council District 13? Can you join us at the table?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and committee members. I'm Ted Walker, Planning Deputy at Council District 13. Our office concurs with staff's recommendation. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, any questions for Planning Department on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to move that we deny the appeal filed by Fred Stifter, Linoleum City Incorporated, Representative Jamie T. Hall, Channel Law Group, LLC, and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission's approval of the environmental clearance for the construction of a 5-story, 30-unit residential building. 4 dwelling units will be reserved for extremely low-income household occupancy for a period of 55 years for the property located at 1115 North Berendo Street, 1115 and 1117 North Berendo Street. Mr. Mejia, can you please call that roll on that item?
Yes, and in addition, sir, the property address for number 5 is 114 North Heliotrop Drive. So it's both items 5 and 6, Council Files 24-1083 and 24-1084, just to be clear for the record.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I will call the roll, sir. Mr. Lee?
Aye?
Ms. Hutt is absent. Ms. Jaroslavsky?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon absent. That's 3 ayes, and those items are approved as stated on the record to deny and sustain the planning, the commission's determination.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that moves us on to item number 12, if I'm correct, Mr. Mejia.
Yes.
All right, can you please call that in the record?
Yes, sir. Item 12, it's a categorical exemption from CEQA. It includes 4 appeals, one by Ariel Mandel, the second one by concerned residents of Shenoda Street, and the third one is by Mayor Schwartzstein and Susan Khan, and the fourth one by Shelley Rothschild. They're challenging the approval of the vesting tract map for the subdivision of 2 lots into 12 small lots. One of the units will be reserved for very low-income households, and then 1 small lot home will be constructed in each of the 12 small lots. The property is located in CD 10.
All right, Planning Department, I believe you have a report to share with us.
Good afternoon, Plum Committee. My name is David Moon, Planning Assistant with City Planning. On July 12th, a determination letter was issued approving vesting tentative tract map number 84089 SLHCA. The tract map was subsequently appealed to the City Planning Commission, in which the Commission voted to deny the appeal and sustain the original determination. Following this decision, the tract map was appealed a second time. The appeals challenged the advisory agencies and CPC's decision to approve of the project, and they raised concerns regarding the project's environmental clearance. Therefore, the project's exemption from CEQA is also under consideration in today's meeting. The appellants have each submitted a justification for their appeals. Many of these appeal points were presented and discussed at the City Planning Commission meeting. Based on the appeal points submitted by the appellants, planning staff recommends that the vesting tentative tract map appeal be denied. The project is consistent with the goals and policies of the community plan and the small lot design standards, as well as the state's subdivision map act. In addition, the project does not violate any of the city ordinances that were brought up by the appellants. The project is consistent with the zoning of the project site, including the development standards that dictate maximum density, floor area, and height. Based on the project design and the technical reports prepared for this project, the project will not adversely impact traffic, safety, parking, privacy, and utilities in the community. The subdivider is required to meet all the conditions outlined in the determination letter before any permits are issued. Also, a justification for the Class 32 categorical exemption was prepared, and it concluded that the project will not result in significant environmental impacts, nor do any cumulative and unusual circumstances exceptions to the categorical exemption apply. Therefore, staff recommends the Plum Committee to deny the appeals. Additional details related to the appeal points are addressed in the staff letter dated October 30th, 2024, that was submitted to the record. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Are any of the appellants, any of the 4 appellants? It's your time now. Please, you each have 3 minutes. Each appellant has 3 minutes to state their case. Please identify your name.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Meyer Schwartzstein. I live next door to the development of 1902 Bruce Road. My wife and I moved there in 2000, and we've been involved in a number of community organizations. I'm on the board of a synagogue in the neighborhood. I'm a member of another synagogue in the neighborhood. And I just wanted to basically thank actually Mr. Park Davis and Ms. Hutt for their support and interest in this project, and their support of our position in terms of seeing through the fact that this is going to have a detrimental effect on our neighborhood. I've not ever been involved in anything relating to city politics, and it's nice to be in a situation where I feel as though I'm encouraged, to be honest, in knowing that we can be heard and that we have an opportunity to be heard, and not just heard, but also listened to. This is the 5th development happening on our street, and I can understand by taking on its own, you can look at it and say it's not going to have an impact when it comes to traffic, it's not going to have an impact when it comes to the neighborhood, living standards, et cetera. But taking in the aggregate, which is unfortunately, I don't think, generally done, it misses the point of what's going to happen. I no longer try myself now to drive down my own block because it's too difficult from a traffic standpoint, and this is without even having all the new people who are moving in. As I've noted in my letter, and I've done actually every place that we've come to, I've noted the fact that we bought solar panels for our house over 15 years ago, and unfortunately this development is going to block the solar panels some part of the year. It seems to me that on the one hand you want to be able to encourage people to be able to have more housing, but you also want to encourage people to have environmental to improve the environment, and we are basically down to one car. We drive electric cars. We've planted a tree a year since we've lived there, and so we are diehard environmentalists, and it seems to me that we care, as you can tell, we care deeply about this, and the idea of having a development that will come up and essentially block our ability to get some sunlight during the year doesn't make any sense to me. So I know that I have a little bit more time. Ultimately, I'm not going to weigh upon you for every moment that I have up here. I just want to express my thanks for your consideration and to understand that the impact on our neighborhood and our lives is dramatic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other appellants? Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Ariel Mandel. Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. I live near the 1904-1906 Bruce development. I'm here today to express my strongly opposed of the development. I understand that there is need of housing. I'm deeply concerned about the negative impacts the negative impacts that this project would have on our neighborhood, including safety, traffic safety, environment degradation, and privacy concerns. So I echo what Myers just stated. Currently on Proof Street, where this development is being proposed, you cannot, like 2 cars going opposite direction cannot pass. Like currently, as Myers mentioned, there's 5 different construction developments that's currently happening. So this would definitely impact that street 100%. So even today, like you're trying to allow another car to pass you as you're passing that car, and then you're weeding through the parked cars. So if you can imagine, it's very, very, very problematic. So that's one thing as far as environmental. The traffic's a major concern, and then also the use of the alley. So the alley sits underneath a descending hill that would be on the back of this project. The project is proposing to have alley use. So individuals can then park their cars and enter through the alley. Currently, you can't really see that there's through traffic, and this will create a through traffic street within the alley. So I'm very concerned about the hazard that this is going to pose, as well as this community is a walking community. So if you can imagine people walking their dogs, walking their kids, walking to Temple. I'm also concerned about daylight savings. You can't, it's getting dark a lot sooner, and I can just see that there's going to be a hazard of people going in and out of the traffic of the alley and accidentally hitting somebody. And, hopefully that doesn't happen, but this definitely poses a threat that there could be, accidents and definitely a hazard for pedestrians getting struck. So I really appreciate your time and allowing me to speak today. I hope you take this appeal in consideration.
Are there any other appellants that are here with us today? Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Faye Mandel, and I'm here today to express my strong opposition to the proposed development which is adjacent to my property.
Ms. Mandel, are you one of the appellants? Got it. Okay. Sorry to interrupt
Thank you, sorry.
Continue.
My late husband and I bought our property in 1983, and it's near the proposed development. I wanted to specifically expound on what my daughter was saying regarding the traffic. It is untrue that there would be no traffic problem, as stated by the person at the desk. There will be a definite traffic and safety hazard. The proposed development will create increased traffic in the area, particularly with the entrance located along the narrow alleyway. As you're coming off of Bruce Road, which is on a hill, so first of all, they want to make 2 large developments up on Bruce Road, which sits, that's why it's called Crestview, the whole, because it sits on a crest. So up on the hill, there's these homes. They have a great view, but they're on a hill, and below that hill is an alley, and then my backyard is to the alley. So anyway, speaking of the hill, so when you're coming down that hill, and you're coming down, you're leaving Bruce Road, you're on Sawyer, and you're coming down the hill, it's hard to see, okay? So there's a narrow alleyway to the right. You don't know coming down the hill that there's an alleyway, because the only thing you see is something narrow, and you see shrubbery on each side of it. That's going to be a major hazard if they have this development. Because cars are be coming in and out of this. When people come down that hill, they come down fast because it's a hill. So I observed, when I was walking my dog, I observed that the car coming down the hill had to stop because there was a car coming out of the alleyway. Then there was another car coming up the hill who stopped as well. Now, there's no lights or anything. He stopped as well to allow that person to come out of the alleyway. My concern was the person coming down the hill that stopped, that possibly had another car behind them coming down the alleyway and not being able to see him, and then hits that person. The alleyway is a major problem. Also, the running off, because it's built on a hill. So what about erosion and those sorts of things coming? So for those reasons,
you can finish your last
I'm very
sentence.
concerned about it, and I hope that you will accept our appeal to this. Thank you very much.
All right, colleagues, at this time, do you have any questions for Planning Department? Oh, I apologize. The applicant, it's an opportunity for the applicant to present their project.
Hi, I am Jesse Harris from Brian Silvera and Associates. We are the applicant's representative. Thank you, members of the Plum Committee, for your attention to this case. I want to get some things clear right off the bat. This project does meet objective zoning standards. The base density for the project site is 12 units, and that is exactly what we're building. We are providing one very low income affordable unit, and based on that provision, we actually could achieve a density of up to 16 units. But the applicant chose to design this development as 12 single-family homes in order to coalesce more closely with the surrounding neighborhood and to provide more accessible home ownership opportunities, which is what the small lot typology was created to do. And I know one very low-income unit may not sound like much, but I do want to point out there is only one other small lot subdivision development in the entire city that has ever been proposed that includes an affordable unit. It's in Northeast LA. That was back in 2008. It was 27 homes with one low-income unit. So not only are we proposing the highest ratio of affordable units for this development type, but we're doing it at the lowest income category and in a high-resource neighborhood. So I just want to emphasize that it's highly uncommon for the small lot subdivision typology to include affordable housing, which is why we're extremely proud to be able to propose these 12 units with one very low income unit in a high resource neighborhood. As planning staff went over, the project does meet its objective zoning standards. We have implemented some design changes from meeting with the community, including setbacks on the roof deck, landscaping on the roof decks and balconies for added privacy. We undergrounded the transformer at a great cost to the development. We changed the color of materials, added wood paneling to the front balconies, enlarged and articulated the windows. Very importantly, we reduced the height. We also have offered to work with the appellant who last spoke to install mirrors on the end of the alley to increase safety. And I do want to point out that the average daily trips projected to be generated by the project is 38, which falls way below the average daily trips needed to be considered a significant transportation impact. We can't use level of service of the roadway in order to determine the transportation impacts. That's based on state law. Furthermore, it is customary for LA DOT to require ingress and egress be taken from an alley when one is available in order to reduce conflicts on the main roadway. I also want to point out that as a condition of the development, this project would have to dedicate 2.5 feet to the rear alley as well as 5 feet to Pruce Road. So it would actually be improving the conditions of the traffic on the street by widening the alley and widening Pruce Road. So I just want to say we have to acknowledge that the neighborhood in which this project is proposed is a multifamily neighborhood. The zoning allows for the number of units, the height, the FAR, the use, the parking, all of that is consistent. We're only asking for a waiver request to reduce the front yard. That is all that's being requested here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Are you the same applicant?
Yes, I'm also on behalf of the applicant.
And
The appellant's got 9 minutes, so I'm just asking
well,
for
no,
another 3.
they're all separate appeals. Are you the same applicant?
Yeah, we are
And
the same applicant.
that's your time. Yeah. Sir, the attorney, I mean, you can make a judgment on this.
I would recommend letting the applicant's attorney
Okay.
speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Alicia Bartley with Gaines and Stacy on behalf of Pruist Development. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant today. In enacting the Housing Accountability Act, the legislature found and declared that California has a housing supply and affordability crisis of epic proportions. To address this housing crisis, the HAA requires approval of proposed development projects that comply with applicable, objective, general plan and zoning standards and criteria. The HAA requires that if a local agency proposes to disapprove a project or fails to find that a project is exempt from CEQA when substantial evidence in the record supports that the project is eligible for the exemption, the local agency must make written findings supported by preponderance of evidence that the housing development project would have a specific adverse impact on the public health and safety. Here the project is proposed, including the waiver of only one development standard to permit a 10-foot front building line setback complies with all applicable general plan and zoning standards and criteria. The project requires approval under the HAA as there is no evidence, let alone a preponderance of the evidence, that the project will have a specific adverse impact on the public health and safety. Project opponents have raised a laundry list of alleged adverse impacts caused by the project, none of which rise to the level of being significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable as required for denial under the HAA. Regarding the Class 32 category exemption, the substantial evidence test governs the city's determination that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. Substantial evidence is defined as enough relevant information and reasonable inferences from this information that a fair argument can be made to support a conclusion even though other conclusions may be reached. Substantial evidence supports the Class 32 CE in this case, as detailed in the staff report. The appellants have failed to establish any exceptions to the categorical exemption applies. Should this project be denied, the HAA permits the applicant to bring a writ of mandate challenging the city's denial, and the court may issue an order compelling the city to approve the project. Further, the city faces a liability for attorney's fees and a minimum of fine of $10,000 per unit for the improper denial of a project. These fees may amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars in this case. Opposition to the project by the council office was submitted to the record at the last minute with no notice to the applicant after the applicant worked productively with the council member's office for months leading up to today's hearing. We respectfully request a 30-day continuance to allow us to meet with the council member and discuss her concerns. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, any questions for Planning Department on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move that we grant the 4 appeals filed by Ariel Mandel, concerned residents of Shenandoah Street, Meyer Schwartzstein and Susan Kahn, Shelley Rothschild, and thereby overturn the Planning Commission determination relative to approval of the vesting tentative tract map for the subdivision of 2 lots into 12 small lots with 1 dwelling unit reserved for very low-income households. 1 small lot home will be constructed at each of the 12 small lots for the property located in 1904 to 1906 South Bruce Road, and instruct the Planning Department to prepare any necessary modified conditions of approval and findings to deny the vesting tract map. Mr. Mejia?
Chair, Catherine Phelan, City Attorney's Office. I would recommend that since we're overturning, basically denying the map, and the findings prepared by staff are to approve the map, that it would be appropriate to identify the evidence you heard that supports upholding the appeal. And it's not clear to me if you're upholding it based on the CEQA arguments you've heard or the map. So if it's just the CEQA issues that have been raised, I would recommend that you remand it for planning to prepare new CEQA to present that to CPC, but not that you're denying the map. We need to make that clear. What are we upholding here? The issues on the map or the CEQA?
The CEQA.
Okay, so then the appropriate motion would be to uphold the CEQA appeal, remand to CPC for planning to prepare new CEQA consistent with although it would be good to hear what evidence you heard that you I guess, consistent with the statements made. Does that capture it? The basis for upholding the CEQA appeal?
Yes. And the letter by CD, Council District 10.
Okay.
Mr. Mejia, do you have all that?
Yes, so the clerk should memorialize that in the committee report to the council, the action to remand it to the CPC, and also memorialize the letter by the councilwoman and the granting of those 4 appeals.
And the appeal is being upheld just based on the CEQA, not on the map?
I will call the roll. Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Lee, Ms. Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla?
Aye.
And Ms. Hutt and Mr. De Leon are absent. Those are 3 ayes. And those appeals are granted as stated for the record, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mejia. Thank you, Madam City Attorney, for clarifying that. I believe that moves us on. I believe, what do we have left? I believe final item 16?
15, we took, that was a
16.
245 matter. Excuse me?
16?
16.
Oh, no, 18,
No,
sorry, I
18.
apologize. 18.
Yes, 18 is the last item, sir. It's a motion by Mr. McCosker and various other council members, seconded by Ms. Padilla. It's instructing the Planning Department, CLA, City Attorney, Housing Department, to prepare or suggest language that fully incorporates the labor standards and affordability requirements embedded in SB 4 that was enacted into law on October 11th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. I believe that some of my colleagues have questions for Planning Department. Ms.
Thank you,
Yaroslavsky.
Chair Lee. I want to start by thanking my constituents who came out today, though it looks like they're gone. So last year, I was proud to bring forward a support resolution for Senate Bill 4, which makes it easier for faith-based organizations to develop affordable housing. That the state legislature passed and Governor Newsom signed SB 4 was a really important step forward for the entire state. Along with the resolution, I also authored a motion asking for both the local impacts of SB 4 and for additional recommendations to support houses of worship and building affordable housing on faith-owned land. In their report back, city planning staff discussed their work in creating a faith-based organization incentive program as part of the citywide rezone process, which the city had committed to developing in the housing element that the state approved. I have a few questions for city planning staff to help better understand both the impacts of SB 4 and what is before us today. So first question, since SB 4 has become law, how many projects in the city of LA have utilized SB 4?
Blair Smith, Senior City Planner. We've received 0 filings for SB 4.
Okay, so nobody's applied under this program.
Nobody's formally applied. We've received some inquiries related to it, but no formal applications.
Okay, does the proposed faith-based organization incentive program actually not comply with SB 4?
Blair Smith, Senior City Planner. Our local faith-based incentives are an entirely separate program. So SB 4 projects can utilize our affordable housing incentives, or a faith-based institution could choose to utilize local incentives. They're 2 separate things.
So the motion that we're considering before us today states as follows, and I quote, "The City Planning Commission recently approved CHIP, and the policy matter is now pending committee and full city approval. There are 2 programs within AHIP that do not comply with state policy regarding housing production and labor protections, the faith-based organization projects and 100% affordable housing project policies. As CHIP and SB 4 come forward, the City Council must look to state law to guide its implementation of these important programs. Where there is a city incentive for faith-based organizations and nonprofit colleges to develop through the use of SB 4, there must be compliance with SB 4 on affordability requirements and labor standards. Furthermore, the Planning Department must include state-supported labor policies for faith-based organizations and 100% AHIP policies." Is it true that we must include certain labor policies, as the motion clearly insists?
Blair Smith, we are not obligated to include labor policies, and state density bonus program limits the imposition of standards like labor. Our affordable housing incentives are a state density bonus program, so they could be required through a state incentive like SB 4 and used in conjunction with our local incentives, but we do not propose any labor standards in our local incentives.
So basically, SB 4 is the floor, and we're allowed to develop local incentives.
Correct.
So I have real concerns with the language in this motion because I think it misstates the law. I think, colleagues, if we want to have a conversation about prevailing wage and balancing the interests of affordable housing and wages, then we should have that conversation. I think that's an important conversation to have. I, for one, am open to imposing prevailing wages, but I do think we need to be honest about what we're doing, that the chance, the very likely chance that we may well be negatively impacting affordable housing starts if we make these adjustments to the program. At the same time, there's real value in prevailing wages. So I want to note that the motion itself misstates our local program relative to the state law. It makes it seem like we are in violation of that unless we adopt these amendments. So I just want to make clear that that's not the case. So I'd like to, colleagues, ask that we amend the motion to include a direction that we include as part of the City Planning Department's annual progress report, or APR, the number of projects going forward within the city that utilize SB 4 with these changes in place that incorporate prevailing wages so that over time we can monitor whether or not this program is a success. And with that amendment, I'm willing to support this motion, even though I disagree with language in it.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
All right, one question for planning. So we are not, if we add these labor standards, we're not in violation of anything that's been set forth by the state, correct?
Blair Smith, we cannot introduce labor standards into our local program. So right now, SB 4 projects, once our program is adopted, would be able to use it. We don't have to add anything. They're already eligible. We have implementation memos that speaks to that. What the motion is requesting planning to do is remove any area where there's eligibility overlap. between the state incentives and our local incentives. So if we're thinking about this as a Venn diagram, we've got SB4,
Okay.
we've got our local incentives, there's an overlap portion, but there's also areas where they don't overlap as well.
All right.
And this motion would eliminate the areas where they don't overlap.
The motion directs us to eliminate the overlap, is how I would see it.
Okay.
Ms. Padilla, any questions?
No questions at this time.
All right, so we will adopt this item as amended by Councilmember Yaroslavsky to request the city attorney in consultation with the planning department to include the following language in the draft citywide housing incentive program, CHIP ordinance CF 21-1230-S5 to incorporate the labor standards and the affordability requirements of SB4 Wiener 2023 as adopted by state legislature into the planning department's local implementation of SB4 projects and policies, remove from citywide housing incentive program ordinance any local adaptation of SB4's intent so that SB4 is the only law that governs incentives for by right development of housing on lands governed by SB4. Mr. Mejia, can you please call the roll on that?
Yes, and just to be clear, the two recommendations that you read are in essence memorializing what's in the motion by Mr. McCosker. Ms. Yaroslavsky added a third directive, a third recommendation as to the number of projects that.
So, yeah, so include a direction that the planning department include as part of it, the city planning department's annual progress report, or APR, the number of projects within the city that utilize SB4 each year.
Thank you. So
Thank
that's
you.
a third recommendation.
Correct.
Yes. Originally, Mr. Lee had read the two recommendations.
Correct, and we're adding the third by Ms.
Yaroslavsky's.
Yaroslavsky.
And so the clerk is clear on that. Okay, I will call the roll.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that. You clear, Jen? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're clear on that, thank you.
All right, I will call the roll, that motion as amended with the three instructions. Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Hutt absent. Ms. Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla?
Yes.
And Mr. De Leon absent. That's three ayes as amended, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Are there any other items to be heard today?
No, sir.
Then this meeting is adjourned.